Moving on to the media, I'm completely in accord with your position regarding the subjugating force of the mass media, especially the role the tabloid media plays, whereby it uses utter trivia to distract and render supine the elements of the population who should feel most aggrieved. However, I've been told in the past that I'm trying to impose my own set of values and agenda upon people, and if they buy papers that headline with stories about the licentiousness of celebrities or the apotheosis of sports stars, that's because they're enacting their rights as free individuals to choose that paper and that story. If they want to know about human rights abuses in Iraq, they'll buy, in the UK anyway, The Independent or The Guardian. In addition, newspapers are businesses in a cutthroat, diminishing industry. Why shouldn't they maximise their profits by giving people stories they want to read about? Why should they feel obligated to depress people with stories of war and destruction? How would you respond to that?
First of all, it's interesting to look at the history of the British tabloid media. You go back not very far to the 1960s. They were left liberal newspapers.
The Herald.
The Mirror and the
Herald.
Well, the Herald was a social democratic newspaper. Actually, it was the most popular paper in England. It a lot of popular support that disappeared, I think, in the early 60s. But it just couldn't meet the, it couldn't compete with capital concentration and advertiser reliance. So it didn't matter how much public support it had. James Curran's written a lot about this. But even the tabloids, they were left newspapers. It was the same here. The New York Post, which is now like rabid right-wing lunatics, I think Murdoch owns it. When I was growing up, it was a kind of left liberal New Deal paper. You know, human beings haven't changed their genetic character. They're just given different choices. As I mentioned, in the period of the really free press, late 19th century, the labor press was quite impressive. I've, frankly, myself, in discussing the media, not talked about this much. I'm much more interested in the elite media. And there, a very interesting question comes up. So take, say, the New York Times and counterparts elsewhere, which sort of sets the agenda with regard to serious issues. How do they do it? What's their commitment? Actually, they have a commitment. So, if you're, say, a journalist in Iran, let's say, what is discussed is determined by the Guardian Council. The ruling clerics decide what you discuss. In the United States, free country, it's not done that way, but there's still a sovereign. It's what's discussed within the Beltway, what's discussed between Democrats and Republicans and the corporate sector. That's what you discuss. If it's something else, and that's what's called objective, unbiased. Anything else is sentimental.
Fair
and so on.
balance.
And it's very interesting the way it turns out. So take right this minute, take a look at the New York Times on the web. You'll see that they're featuring one of the things that the sovereign says is important is Israel-Palestine. Obviously that's important. So they feature a debate about it. And the debate is called Barak versus Bibi. So the two poles of the debate are Obama and Netanyahu. Now from the point of view of the Arab world, they're both at the same pole, you know. I mean, they're both traditional U.S.-Israeli rejectionists. And from the point of view of history, that's correct. And for 35 years, the U.S. and Israel have been blocking a political settlement. Barak and Bibi represent, it's kind of like a debate between two Iranian clerics over some obscure point of theology. I mean, maybe from their point of view, that's a debate, but not from the point of view of the world or even the interests of Americans. I mean, that they may think so, but that's because it's all they're fed. Very few people know that both of them have been leading, they and their predecessors have been leading the rejectionist camp for 35 years. Well, okay, that's it's kind of objectivity, if you like, but highly skewed. And it's not very surprising. I mean, after all, the reason the Daily Herald went under is because it couldn't compete with concentration of capital and advertiser reliance. And that tells you a lot about what the media are. Actually, media can survive. I'm not so convinced that print media can survive today. Actually, I was in Mexico over the weekend. I go there fairly frequently. And they have a very good newspaper there. I think it's the best one in the hemisphere, La Jornada. It's very high quality. talk to the editors, know the journalists, really good people. It's the second largest newspaper in the country, has virtually no commercial advertising because business hates it, but it relies on reader support. Maybe they have some other kind of support, and it's a very high-level newspaper, high-quality newspaper. Well, actually, this, for example, this Salvadoran report in the Times, I read about it a couple of days ago there, you know, and very often I find out things that never even appear here. So I'm skeptical about the economic issues.
Thank you so much, now. Enjoy it. Thank you.